Good morning and welcome to Heartland Dual Sport. In today's video we're going to be doing what we're going to call Moto Camping 101, and we're going to hopefully help you with your packing, show you how we have our tent and everything set up in the bike, and we're also going to have the bonus round as usual. So let's get to the video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a breakdown of everything in the bag. I'm going to show you some things. Now again, I want to preface this with, this is summer moto camping, because right now we're in the heat of the summer, and what I would take in the winter time may or may not be exactly the same. But we're going to go through this video. I'm hopefully going to share some things with you that might help you in your next moto camping trip. Along with, I'm going to show you some things that I took, things that I may not ever take again, and things that I would just simply take if it was going to be cold weather camping, because it'd be a little bit different. But for this video, we're going to be doing summer camping. Before you leave on your trip, eat a good solid meal before you go the night before, because that's going to help. I do have a video of me setting up camp on our recent moto camping trip, a little over 2,500 miles that we just completed. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is you're going to be watching some of that video, and then I'm going to zoom in and talk about the key points. So we'll at the very least, we're going to have the audio from this video that we're doing right now. We're going to be zooming in and showing you some key points and also the tips. We're going to start out with tip number one, and this is going to be essentially like if you had just rolled up at camp. As you can see, I've already taken my riding gear off, and this is exactly how I'd set it up on the bike when I get off and I'm at the campground where I'm going to be camping at. Number one, I'm going to have my helmet over here. I'm going to put my jacket up over the front of the windscreen. It'll help dry it out if it's wet. If you've been riding through rain, you're still going to get some engine heat coming up through the engine. Yes, my puppy's excited I'm home. So if you can hear him running around in the background, sorry about that. We're just doing the best we can here. But yeah, I'm going to hang the jacket up here. It's twofold. Number one, it gets it out of your way. You're not laying it on the ground. It's not going to be full of ants and bugs when you get ready to leave. And it's also going to keep the front half of your bike dry if it's still raining. So one of the first things that I'm always going to do, and I carry a lot of paracord. You guys that know me and have watched our outdoor channel, you know I use these a lot. But if you'll notice, every bag that we've got on this bike has a carabiner attached to it. And I'm going to zoom in real quick, and I'm going to show you how I'll tie my bags up to a tree to keep them off the ground. Okay, so this real easy trick, guys. I don't know, I'm sure a lot of y'all know how to tie your different knots, but it doesn't have to be nothing fancy. But the main objective here is we're going to have a couple of spots. This is just a regular slip knot. Bring it back under one more time. Now you've got two different spots to hang a carabiner. I'll do that one more time. If you guys aren't familiar with how to tie a slip knot, this video is not specifically for that, but I'm going to show you. Just got a loop tied on this one end. Bring your tag in through the knot. Just get it somewhat tight. Smash this side with your fingers. Make a loop. Run the loop. Make a loop on top. Grab your hand and pull the excess through. We're just going to bring that loop back in on itself, and now it won't pull loose, and you can hang a carabiner over here and one right here. So I'm going to hang the bag so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. Top bag, we're taking it off. I've got it bungee corded with rock straps. This top bag has some awesome gear in it. That'll be another video. We're not going to talk about it today. You just grab one of your carabiners that's on this bag here. We'll use this one. Run your carabiner. Now this bag is off the ground. Next bag we're going to grab off the bike. It's got our hydration stuff in it. Same deal. Now it's hanging and you can get to your water real easy and quick. While we're right here talking about the hydration pack, I'll go through it real quick. Got your regular, it's a Camelback hydration pack. In the mornings, every morning when I start out, I'd go by a dollar store because that's the cheapest I found. You can get a bag of ice and 2 or 3 deals of water. I fill this up with ice, then I pour a couple of water bottles in it. That way you know you've got good, fresh, cold water. It's twofold. You can actually feel a little bit of the ice on your back through the Camelback. Number 2 is going to be, while you're at the dollar store, they've always got several of these little variety packs of tuna. I like this one right here. It's got the jalapenos in it. I like the hot and spicy stuff. But this is actually, in my mind, that's 2 good meals. It weighs less than a pound, and you've got them right there handy in the top of your pack. So you've got food and water for the entire evening. Bonus round right now, I'm going to show you something that's going to come in extremely handy when you're riding in hot temperatures. Febreze. Guys, I can't express to you how bad you're going to stink after sweating 300-400 miles of ride, and that's each day. You're going to want this in your helmet, otherwise it's going to smell bad.
And the girls aren't going to want to hear this, but we would too.
And secondary, your riding gear is going to smell bad. Your riding boots, again, Febreze. Do not leave home without it on a summer camping trip. That's just bonus content. You're getting this for free, guys. You're getting all this for free, but I'm telling you, once you smell your helmet after you've taken it off, because you get used to it while you're riding. Where it becomes hugely noticeable is tomorrow morning after we've packed camp up and we're putting our clothes on and we're fixing to head out, and you lift your helmet up or your boots up, you're going to be like, where's the Febreze? Because trust me on this one, you need it. Every bit of our camping gear is in this top bag on purpose. Okay, and as you guys may or may not recognize, this is a Moto bag. It doesn't matter what bag you're using, but essentially you're going to want to pack it the same way. Okay, so part of what we're going to do is we're going to grab this bag. One thing that you'll see right off the bat is I've got this piece of leather. This leather is a multi-purpose, multi-use tool, and I'll show you as we're setting up camp what I use it for and why it's so important. The other thing that you see here right on top is a hat. When you get done riding after a full day, or if it's raining and you're trying to set up camp in the rain, a nice hat is going to be handy to have. And this one, you can tell it's one of my hunting hats. It's Gore-Tex. It will keep you dry if it's raining, which may not be a problem because when you're riding around in the heat, you're going to be sweaty and wet anyways, guys. So the rain may or may not matter. It may actually be refreshing, but I always want a hat right on top when I'm unloading my camping gear, just in case. If nothing else, it'll keep you from getting sunburn. I've noticed that in some of my videos that I've watched, it looks like part of the top of my head is thinning a little bit. I've never noticed that until watching some of my videos, but that will keep those spots that are thinning a little bit from getting sunburned. So it's good to have right on top. Alright, so to get this bag off, it's held on with 2 of the heavy-duty rock straps. Again, be conscious, your muffler is going to be hot. You do not want this dangling down and burning off with your muffler. So grab this one and always bring it around this other side. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull them loose. See how these automatically fold in and they're not on the motorcycle muffler? That's on purpose. I'm done with this part, so we're just going to put the one strap back on because we're not going to need in there. One thing I will point out while we got this flap open, and I've got a water filter system in here. It's the regular Sawyer water. It doesn't take up much space right there, and it comes in extremely handy if you didn't get water before you stopped to camp. There's a sequence to loading these bags up, and I'm going to go over that with you right now so that you're more prepared when you get there. And the biggest preparation on this is if it's raining once you get to camp. If it's raining when you get to camp, the sequence that you've loaded your bag is going to make or break how wet you are inside your tent. So we'll open up this side and take a look. And I also know that I'm on the right end because this bag has a spot to put your tent stakes. If this is facing up, I'm on the right end. This is the end that I want to open first. And I pack my bag every time like this on purpose so that I know how to set up camp if it's raining when I get there. Number one, right on top is going to be my tent stakes. They're not going to blow away. There's metal, so you can just throw them on the ground. It ain't that big a deal. But the biggest thing that I want to show you that you need on top every single time is a tarp. If it's raining, this is my hammock tarp, and it is big enough to set my tent up underneath it if it is raining, or to set it up over the bike to keep water off the bike as well. And that's going to be number one, and things that are going to make your life easier once you make it to camp. Because you can look at me in this video that's playing in the background, I'm more slick. I don't want to have to be spending all my what little bit of energy I have left in my brain trying to figure out where stuff is. You want it in the same spot every time. That's important. The next thing is going to be the outer shell of the tent. Again, if you've set up camp the night before and this is wet, we've got options for tying this down on the bike when you're breaking down camp the next day if your tent's wet. And as you'll see in the video in the background, it rained on me pretty much the whole night, so the very next morning when I'm packing up camp, this did not go in the bag next. It'll actually go in this beaver tail of this bag and tied up. That way I'm not putting a wet tarp on top of my sleeping bag and my sleeping pad. Now then, as you can see, I'm still setting up camp in the background video that's running. But I do want to bring you back to this little piece of leather. This is a 10-inch by 10-inch piece of leather. I've got some with calf hair on them and some without. It doesn't really matter, because the biggest deal that you're going to use this for is getting in and out of your tent while you're at the campground. If you'll notice, at the campground that we're using right now, it actually has a concrete pad for RVs to park there. I'm setting my tent up there on purpose. It's twofold. When I get ready to go in the morning, I don't want to be dealing with mud. So I'm setting it up on the concrete. I've also got the sleeping pad, which I can sleep just as comfortable on concrete or gravel or mud. And I'd rather not deal with the mud, so I purposely set up camp on the concrete pad that you'd use for the RV. And where this comes in handy is this is how it works. You just put it on the ground. And when you're kneeling to get in and out of your tent, that thin piece of leather, as much as you don't think it might not help, is a great deal of relief on your knees, especially if you're riding like I am. And what I was using was regular bike shorts underneath my riding pants. And if I didn't have this, I would have a bare knee on concrete, which would eventually lead to cuts, abrasions, whatever you want to call it. You're going to be sweating on your bike a lot. You don't want a big scab that's getting sweat and dirt and road grime in it for multiple days. This will save your knees, guys. It doesn't look like that big of a deal. And now you've got one knee on your pad that you're going to be sleeping on, as well as the other knee, which is outside on the concrete or the ground or whatever your tent is set up on. From right here, you can rotate your hips around. Old wrestling move for you guys that used to wrestle, you can call that. Call it out. I'd like to hear the name of it. I know what it is. Let's see if you do. Now I've got my shoes outside the tent. I can take them off. And one thing I didn't show you in this video is I actually wear lake shoes, or not wear lake shoes. I have lake shoes at the very top of my bag. Because when I'm first at camp and I take off all my riding gear, I'm generally going to take off them heavy riding boots and put on my lake shoes then as well. I don't like walking around barefooted. Again, I don't want an unnecessary cut or scratch on my feet on a long moto trip. It just makes sense to protect your feet. But that's what this is for. Now, secondary use for this, when you're inside your tent, you can set this up, set your jet boil on it, and you don't have to worry about melting the inside of your tent. It's just another useful item to have at camp. Anything that I've got in my bag has got more than one use. And like I said, this looks like a simple little tool, but I'm telling you, it'll save you in a pinch. Because the leather's tough. It doesn't matter if it gets wet, it doesn't matter if it's dry. It's still going to protect your skin. It's going to protect the mat of your floor of your tent. This is another time that I think it'd be a good time to point out another tip. You guys that know me and have been watching my channel for a long time, you know I love hammocks. I sleep better in a hammock than I do in a tent. And the number one problem with hammocks are, especially when you're going to state parks or areas that you've never camped before, you may not always have trees, and a lot of your state parks, depending on where you're at in this country, they will not allow you to tie a hammock into the tree. You might not be able to use the trick that we use for the paracord to keep your bags off the ground at camp either. My general rule of thumb is, if I see a nail where somebody has driven a nail into that tree to hang their lantern or whatever kind of junk they've done before me, I can get by with putting paracord right there, because if they came and asked me about it, I would say it's not hurting that tree more than that rusty nail is. I would still comply, take it off, no biggie, no problem. But here's what I noticed. I noticed this rusty nail sticking out of the tree before I put my paracord on. And you're going to see that at a lot of campgrounds, especially your state parks. Guys are taking nails and driving them into the tree and killing them. Don't do that. Take some paracord, tie your stuff onto the tree just using cords or the paracord. You can have 5 or 6 of these easy little paracord deals to hold all your bags up off the ground. Once camp's set up, this bag right here, it doesn't matter if it gets wet or not. I'll just go ahead and seal it, fold it back up. That keeps the ants and bugs out of it, and throw it on the back half of the tent, either inside or outside, because it doesn't matter if it gets wet. It's going to be outside the entire trip. Okay, food for thought. Would I take this again or not in the heat? I'm going to tell you, me and Tankerman, we talked about this quite a bit before I even packed it. I decided I went with my gut and I took it anyways. I love my coffee in the morning. However, I only had coffee one morning on the camping trip to the final destination. Where it did save me, and I'm glad that I had it, more so than the coffee, was day number 2 was a long day, a lot of heat that day. I got to camp, I was hot, tired, and ready. As I'm checking in to the campground, I noticed, or I asked the campground host, I was like, hey, where's the closest place that I can go get some water, some ice, and maybe even something to eat for dinner? And he said, sure, sir. He said, it's real easy. He said, go back out here on the highway, and it's about 15 miles down the road. It's the closest little like gas station / grocery store type thing. And in my mind, I'm soaking wet, I'm sweating, I've still got all this hot gear on, and I'm thinking, I'm gonna at least go set up camp and then I'll make the trip to town. Guys, I'm gonna tell you straight up, when I got to camp, the last thing I wanted to do after I'd stripped off, I'm still soaking wet from sweat, I've got the tent set up and everything's going great. I did not want to go to town. I was camped at a lake, my campsite had water and electricity. So here's what I did. I used one of those dehydrated breakfast meals. That was my dinner. I wanted a hot dinner that night. I can't explain why, but I just felt like I needed more nutrition than standard Viennese sausages or the Starkist tuna packet was going to have. So I had hot meal, bacon and eggs. Okay, and as dumb as it sounds, I did use the water from the campground. I used my Sawyer's water filter to filter that water before boiling it up to make my coffee or make my hot meal that I had that night. Alright, the next piece of the camp gear, which you also notice I just took it from the top bag on the other side of the bike, is going to be one of these, what I call little Joey chair. I believe that was the original manufacturer of these. This one's actually made by Marchway. There'll be a link in the description down below if you want to get one of these. But I'm telling you, they're worth their weight in gold when you get set up at camp. You're not always going to have a picnic table to set up on, and or you may not have a place to set it all. But this makes your life so much easier when you're trying to cook, sit down, relax. Trust me, you don't necessarily need to set as much right off the bat after you've been riding all day long, but you're definitely going to want a place to relax while you're eating or whatever else. These chairs go together so quickly and so easy, and they're also lightweight, so I love them. Absolutely love them. Grab your little chair. Goes together with the 4 stakes. You got 2 tall ones for the back. And and the two shorter ones for the front of the chair. The other great thing about this is it's got these nice feet, so if you need to set it up inside your tent, you're not going to be poking holes in the bottom of your floor. Just set the chair down, and again, even in dirt or sandy soil, those nice wide feet help you to keep from sinking into the ground. You've got camp set up, and I'm going to tell you right now, you see how close the bike is to me? That's exactly how I set it up if I'm moto camping. I've got my tent right here. Obviously don't have it set up because you wouldn't be able to see me, but my bike's right there, and if anybody messes with my bike, I can not only see it, but I would hear them, hopefully. But my second thing that I'm going to tell you straight up, if I go camping again, which I know it's going to happen, I live in Texas, it's hot here, I will more than likely, instead of taking that big sleeping bag, which is actually my small light summer sleeping bag, I never once actually slept inside of it. I slept on top of it the entire trip. So more than likely what I would do this time of year, especially when you're looking at the forecast and you're looking at 80 and 90 degree evening temperatures, I will not take a sleeping bag again. I'll use that space again for something else more usable for the trip, whether it be a full-size camera, tripod, something like that. But I'll take a sheet that I can easily shake out. The other advantage to the sheet is if it's raining and the sheet was to get wet, you can hang it up with some paracord, real simple clothesline, and it should be dry in 10 or 15 minutes when you've got that kind of heat. The next thing that I want to draw your attention to, because I haven't seen it in any moto camping video yet, as most of y'all know, I'm a hunter. If you guys have been following our videos recently, I am an avid bow hunter. But something that is very important that you're not going to see in anybody else's video is this right here. This stuff is called permethrin. This is what it looks like straight if you was to go to the Tractor Supply store or Atwood's or any other farm implement store. They're going to sell this. You can also find it on Amazon. I will put links down below. The secondary item, which is how I originally got turned on to this, is this company called Sawyer. The added advantage to this is it is scent proof. And now you may be asking yourself, Dale, where am I going to put all that junk? You didn't have it in your bag. Absolutely not. You're not going to pack it in your bag, but what you are going to do and what you're going to want to do, spray this stuff on your tent, inside and out. Set it up in your backyard before you go on the trip. Spray your bedding down. Spray your sleep pad down. Spray your clothes down. Now then, what you'll do, if you notice, this has got a little spot here to where you can fill this little reservoir up right here. I wash all my clothes in this before I leave on any trip, whether it be a hunting trip or moto camping. What this will do for you is keep you from getting bit by mosquitoes, ticks, and fleas. I've literally watched ticks crawling across my pants up in the tree stand and they fall over dead. The stuff works. And again, guys, if you are pet owners and you have cats, dogs, or anything in your house that live with you, wash your bedding in this stuff, because I'm telling you, the dogs inevitably, they'll bring in ticks. Angie's woke up in the middle of the night before with a tick. I've woke up with a tick that probably crawled off a buster. But
Yeah,
after we...
with them being treated,
right.
even.
Yeah, because our
just
dogs, cats, and everything's treated. So what happens is that parasite gets on your pet, realizes it's no good to eat, might kill them, so they end up crawling off of them looking for another host, which is you. If you've washed your bedding in this stuff, they will die before they make it to you. I promise. I've seen it happen. So again, this is just a, I'm going to call it a pro tip. You call it what you want, but it's definitely worth mentioning. It's definitely something that you need to think about. My dad's had Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Angie's had Rocky Mountain spotted fever. A lot of these bugs will kill you, or the potential is there to cause you great bodily harm. If you got either one of them things and you're 1,200 miles away from home on a motorcycle and your significant other can't ride your bike back, that's going to be a problem. Prevent it before it happens, just like changing your oil on your motorcycle before you leave for the trip, or changing the oil in your Jeep. Preventative maintenance helps you have a smoother trip. And again, I can't express to you how important that one little thing is that can truly save your bacon out in the woods. A lot of people aren't aware of it, but me being a hunter and have been for years and years since I was a little boy, this is something to help you and make your trip better. Okay, and the last thing that I want to talk about real quick, because this is inevitably going to happen when you're at a moto camping trip. You wake up and it's raining. You're inside your tent and you're dry. Maybe even the floor of your tent is wet. It doesn't really matter, but let's just hypothetically say your bedding's dry, your sheets dry, your sleep pad's dry. How are you going to get that packed and pack your bag back up? And let's just say that you don't have the advantage of the Moto bag with the beaver tail, and you don't have a way to really separate the rain fly. My tent, the way it's designed, is I can take it apart from the inside out so that not everything's getting wet. One option that you have is to carry around a couple of extra dry bags that fold up real small. That way you can put your wet stuff, or maybe even put your dry stuff in the dry bag. That way it doesn't get wet with the wet rain gear. The next thing that I'm sure everybody's got, and this is the last thing in this bag, is a couple of trash sacks. They come in real handy. Like I said, I can take my tent apart from the inside out, which means that I could keep my sleeping bag or sheet, whichever I use, my sleeping pad, put all the stuff that's already dry inside of a trash sack. That way when you stuff your other stuff that's wet in there, you're not going to be sleeping on a wet pillow the next night, because sometimes when you're packing up camp, it's going to be raining. This is a good way to keep your dry stuff separate from your wet stuff. Alright, one of the things that I want to talk about real quick, and that's going to be a flashlight. I always like to carry a headlamp with me. If you're out on the road, maybe something happens, you're waiting out a rainstorm or something and you get to camp late, I like the headlamps because you've got a light source that everywhere you move your head, you're going to have light, and you're also hands-free that way. Another thing that I always carry, just in case that dies, I've always got at least one of these little lights like this that's on my bags. Alright guys, final tip. If you guys have got a beard, this is a pro tip that you may or may not have experienced yet, or maybe you're new to the moto camping and you haven't actually ridden all day long with your beard flapping in the wind. When you get there, it's going to be tied in knots. It's no fun. So you want to make sure you got a brush. I've always got one real handy right there in the top of my bag. It's going to make it easier to brush those knots out. But to prevent you from getting knots in your beard, carry around a couple of these. They're like rubber bands for girls' ponytails. But you can actually put this thing in a ponytail. You don't have to be a wizard and braid it, but just that right there. So anyhow, you can put your ponytail and put your beard in a ponytail, and as you can see, it'll tuck right underneath your chin strap, and you don't have a big knotted mess when you get to camp. When you do get to camp, you can pull it out real easy. Now this isn't tied in a knot, and put this on your rearview mirror or something on your bike so that you can find it in the morning. In fact, take several just in case one falls out while you're on the road. But this is my bag. It hangs, I don't know if you've seen it, but it was right here on the side. This is a roll of toilet paper. I just completed a 2,500 mile run, and luckily most of the places I went to had toilet paper. But what I'm trying to show you is this. I rode through a lot of rain on the way home. In fact, there's going to be an iron butt on the KLR 2022 model Adventure that's coming soon. You're not going to want to miss that video. But during that iron butt ride, which was over 1,100 miles from the East Coast back to East Texas, this was tied on the outside of my bike in the dry bag, and as you can see, this toilet paper is still dry. So for like 10 bucks, you get 3 of these little bags. I think it comes with a red one, or yeah, a red one which is small, a blue one which is kind of medium, and this larger yellow one. Again, the larger yellow one, as you've seen, I took my Joey chair out of it. The one I'm sitting in right now, completely dry. These things work really good for the money, and I just feel like I need to share that with you because it's a cheap product that works great. Some of these bags I've had since 2016. One other real quick tip that I'll share with you guys that you may or may not have thought of. While you're at Walmart, if you end up buying some of these dry bags, go over to the camping section. That's where these are going to be found. A lot of times at Walmart, they'll have a little bottle of what they call tent dry. We've already treated our tent with the Sawyer stuff. What the tent dry does is basically just like it sounds. It doesn't matter if you're using an expensive tent or a $20 tent. Spray it down with tent dry before you leave, because you might be surprised how well even an expensive tent will start leaking water after it's numerous years old. The tent that we're using right now is 6, 7, 8 years old. It's holding up great. It's well quality tent, but it does leak a little. spray it down with tent dry, make your life so much happier once you're at camp, especially if it starts raining. Again, guys, I want to thank you all for tuning into Heartland Dual Sport. I hope that there's something that you learned in this Moto Camping 101. I actually had this down to a science. I could get camp set up in about 20 minutes, and that's full tent set up with the mattress aired up and everything unloaded off the bike that I'd need for the night. Again, we appreciate your likes, comments, and subscribes. If there's something that you do differently at your camp, please share it down below in the comments below so that we can all learn together. Again, this is a great community. I love each and every one of you, and thank you so much. May you all have a blessed week, and let's go ride. Again, guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in to Heartland Dual Sport. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm sitting here looking at my backpack trying to make sure that I've gone over all the things that I wanted to be in this video of the Moto Camping 101, and I'm watching the ants crawl up and down the tree. Here's a fun story for you. I believe it was either night 2 or night 3 of this Moto Camping trip that we're on, that I woke up the next morning and there was thousands of ants all over my bike, all over the concrete floor, and none were on my tent or inside of it. I can't express to you how well that stuff works. Again, keeping it simple and quick on this video because I know we're getting on to a long time. These are just regular lake shoes. The thing I like about these over the Crocs is they fold up smaller basically than one Croc. These microfiber towels are priceless. They fold up small, and not only do they fold up small after you get done out of the shower and you dry off, they've got the little clips on them that you can hang it in a tree or hang it on your little piece of whatever. It dries out really, really quick. Kind of a luxury item, something that you may or may not want, is I carry around one of these little Yeti cups. This one just happened to be from Bass Pro. I got it as a gift, so I carry it with me. Another quick meal is the Viney sausages. They've got them with jalapenos that are really good. The regular ones are good. Just a quick, easy meal that you don't have to cook when you're on a long road trip. Another good quick meal or supplement is any kind of beef jerky. And then, as many of you know from watching probably previous videos, this was my one luxury item I took. It is large, but it's awesome. When it's this hot outside, sweat is a problem. And having a way to cool off and just keep you to where you can sleep a little better for the next day, this is worth its weight in gold. You can see it's got a big clip on it. You can clip it on the tent. I generally have it clipped right above me so that it's blowing down on me. And it works great, guys. Just real quick, those are the couple little things that I meant to mention. I know I mentioned the lake shoes, the towel. It's a great asset to have at camp as well.